There's an island in Celebessy, the name's Sipadan, you must go and see. If you're a diver and you want the best, come along and we do the rest. Well, I'm glad to say the drop-off's okay.
So Sipadan is at the top of the bucket list for all scuba junkies, owing to the place having the richest coral gardens in the world. In fact, it's been featured in multiple magazines and surveys as one of the top dive sites globally, time and again.
To reach Sipadan, you'll have to take a flight to Tawau. We came to Sipadan from Kota Kinabalu, so the flight charges for us were super cheap. It costed us just 45 ringgit to take a flight from Kota Kinabalu to Tawau per person. If you have to come from Kuala Lumpur to Tawau, even then the flight charges won't be that expensive. It would be somewhere between 180 to 200 ringgit. And from Tawau, you'll have to take a cab to Sempurna, and from there a ferry from Sempurna to Mabul, which is the closest island where the tourists can stay near Sipadan. This entire transport from the Tawau airport is usually managed by the dive site, whichever you are going to be booking your dives with. So we took us with Uncle Chang, and they managed all of our transport to and from the Tawau airport. So we stayed with Uncle Chang during our trip. We stayed there for 3 days and 2 nights, and we did a total of 7 dives and 1 snorkeling session with them. For us, the total costs were around 2300 ringgit, including the to and fro transport from the airport, the stay for all the days, all meals, all the dives and the snorkeling trip, including the equipment. So yeah, total it was 2300 ringgit for us.
So an important thing to note is there are only 176 dive permits that are issued every day across all the dive centers and resorts in and around Sipadan. So it's important to book everything in advance because they run out pretty fast. It's a highly coveted place. And there is no accommodation on Sipadan Island, which is done deliberately to prevent pollution and human waste and everything, which is what keeps the marine life and coral gardens there so rich and thriving.
So during our trip, we did one dive in Kapalai, which was at Mandarin Reef, and 2 day dives in Mabul, Lobster Wall and Panglima Reef, and we did a night dive in Paradise Point 2, which is apparently very famous for the nightlife that you find underwater. And in Sipadan, we did our dives at Barracuda Point, South Point and Turtle Cave.
Sipadan is said to have one of the healthiest coral ecosystems in the world. It's geolocated in the Cerebes Sea, which is the center of the Coral Triangle. So Coral Triangle is actually, it's called the underwater Amazon because of the dense gardens and the wildlife. This is basically marine life there. So this Coral Triangle is a region stretching from Malaysia all the way to the Solomon Islands, which is off the coast of Australia. And at the top, to complete the triangle, is Philippines. You can see it in the map. And this region has the highest coral diversity in the world, with the majority of the world's marine life found here, along with plenty of endemic species that you will see nowhere else. So yeah, let's finally take you through the ones we found in Mabul and Sipadan.
Green sea turtles are frequently spotted here in shallow lagoons, occasionally swimming to the surface to take a fresh breath of air. They have a fascinating life cycle. Females crawl out to sandy beaches to lay eggs, and hatchlings make their way back to the water. Those who survive, that is. Fun fact, the temperature of the nest determines the sex of the baby. Above 30 degrees Celsius, they are born female. Lower than that results in male offspring. Natal homing is a very unique characteristic of these turtles. They return to the very beach where they were born. to lay their own eggs due to the reliability of a place where the parents themselves survive. Scientists are actually still baffled by how this happens. Nudibranches, also commonly known as sea slugs or sea snails, are really colorful with varying forms. Interestingly, they shed their shells after the larva stage. They are the most easily spotted macro life in the oceans, although also easily missable among all of these brilliantly colored corals. The Lox chromodoris even has a Pokemon modeled after it. Shellus, you can look it up. Their primary defense is camouflage, but some can even secrete acid from their skin. They have an elaborate dance like courtship for reproduction, going up to a few minutes. There is so much to be said about moray eels, but this terrifying fact tops it all. They are the only known animals to hunt using pharyngeal jaws, a second set of teeth inside their throat that leaps out and captures prey. Although divers are always excited about seeing them, these sharks are fairly common in Indo-Pacific coral reefs. They are harmless for passive viewing and rarely aggressive. Another great view in the ocean is schools of fish. It is magical to see a large swarm swirling in the waters, some becoming wide enough to blot out the sun above. In fact, many diving spots are named and recognized by particular species that form schools there, like jackfish, barracuda, and bump headed parrotfish. Oh, by the way, we found Nemo and another fish buddy of his. The lionfish is also called butterfly cod because of its flamboyant fins. However, all of these brilliantly patterned spines are venomous, especially to humans. This was the first fish our instructor warned us about. We couldn't resist getting pretty close though. Look at those fins. Here we have another beautiful but deadly creature. The electric blue patterns are a dead giveaway to identify this stingray. As with the lionfish, it minds its own business but can inflict excruciating pain if provoked. The spiky sea cucumber is an endangered species, used primarily in Japanese cuisine. Now, here's a fish that actively avoids standing out. It was a bit rare spotting them here in the Cerebus Sea, since its habitat is actually the Western Indian Ocean. It is a well camouflaged ambush predator. We wouldn't have seen them if our guide hadn't pointed them out to us. Here's another animated character, Patrick from SpongeBob. Some species of starfish can reproduce both sexually and asexually, which makes them very unique. Their regenerative abilities are straight out of a comic book. Some species can regenerate entire bodies from a tiny part of their arm. Their colors and textures make them highly coveted for decorating aquariums. This sea cucumber is recognized by a ring of black stalks around its mouth. Some of the neurotoxins it produces are being looked into for anti cancer properties. Here's a crab carrying its home on its back. Hermit crabs have physically and behaviorally evolved to look for empty mollusk and snail shells to curl up inside due to their soft exoskeletons. These two crabs evaded even Google's reverse image search. The ocean is filled with mysteries after all. Please do let us know in the comments if you can identify them. Also called the painted rock lobster, it is used extensively as a food source throughout the Indo-Pacific belt. Look at the spines on this one. They can grow up to 2 feet long. We caught a rare moment of a feathered star swimming. So mesmerizing. Even though it's curled up inside a nook, you can see its tentacles moving slightly, with its bluish suckers clearly visible. Say hello to the most intelligent creature found underwater. Finally, we hit the jackpot with a live hunt. Initially, we could just see some tentacles struggling under a rock, and the creature crawled out to reveal itself, a serpent starfish. But this action movie will have a plot twist. It turns out that this rock is actually a creature too. We spotted an arm and a leg, and some obvious movement towards the end as well. Again, no idea what it is. Please help us out in the comments.
We used to come back to our lodge in between the dives on day 1 during our dives around Mabul and Kapalai. The food served at Uncle Chang was quite delicious, except for the fact that it used to get cold pretty quickly. But wholesome meals nevertheless. On day 2, we took our lunch boxes with us and spent the entire day on Sipadan Island. Usually, the day dives got over by 5 pm, and you had the entire evening to relax and explore the local island. If you opted for a night dive, it would be around 6:30 to 7:30 pm. The rooms provided were humble but sufficient, and the views right outside the room were just brilliant. There were a lot of Malaysian tourists who came to vacation here at Mabul without even planning to go diving around. And I'm sure their trips were wonderful. All in all, Sipadan and Mabul should be on your list for your trip to Malaysia for its beautiful and peaceful vibes, and a must visit for scuba junkies for the exquisite marine life it offers.